So last night, the Sonyverse came to a close when Kraven the Hunter hit theaters. I did get the chance to go see it last night. Is it as bad as everyone's saying? Let's talk about it. So when this movie was coming out, it had a lot of, precursor knowledge to it with Morbius, Madam Web, the Venom movies, and out of all of those, I actually don't mind the Venom movies, nor do I mind Morbius, which I know is like insane to some people because some people like hate that movie. I think there's a difference between a movie being bad and it just being like laughably like, what were they doing? If you are new here, consider subscribing so you don't miss any other reviews or reactions to Marvel-based content if you're into that kind of thing, which you probably are if you're listening to this review. And there will be a spoiler and non-spoiler, so I'll probably have the time or the video split up into segments so you can check out whatever part you need to. And let's dive into Kraven the Hunter. So as far as the things that I can say without giving too much away, the movie is very gory. It does have a rated R, and I believe this is the first Sonyverse movie that has a rated R. That's pretty cool, which you kind of expect that with a Kraven the Hunter movie. It's all about blood and gore and hunting and all of those things, so I was kind of hoping that that would happen. Along with that, though, a lot of the action pieces are really cool. They're not, like, amazing or anything. The main gimmick is just, like, his primal instinct and watching him being very acrobatic. Although, I will say, the part that really got me was more of him, like, scaling the buildings and the way his body moved. That was pretty cool. Probably one of the best things I have to say about the movie is that Aaron Taylor Johnson was one of probably the perfect casting for this role. Who else really? I think people have even fan casted him for years as Kraven. Maybe not necessarily this version of Kraven, but he's a great casting for Kraven nonetheless. He looks like Kraven. He definitely gives off the vibe of a young Kraven the Hunter, so it works. So you heard me mention before about, is a movie bad or is it laughably bad? This movie is like laughably bad, and so much so that I actually kind of enjoyed myself with it. I will say there are redeeming qualities to it that I actually genuinely thought were good, but overall it kind of falls into that like Morbius territory, which again, I don't think is a bad movie. I just think it has moments where it's like, okay. But it's like laughably, like you just turn it on and you can watch it and have fun with it. But it's not like, like Spider-Man No Way Home where you could be like, oh yeah, this is like the peak of cinema and superhero movies. No. I do want to take a second to talk about the Rhino because he is shown in a lot of the trailers. The CGI for the Rhino, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it's pretty bad. Rhino's design, I will give them props because they went with the actual practical way of doing it, a way that is shown in the comics where he actually like has the skin condition. And for that, you gotta give them, at least some credit for not just taking the mech suit, option, which yes, is cool. And I loved it in, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that's a version we've all come to, know. But it's still really cool to see, like, I don't know, like a different adaptation of that. And I can appreciate that, even though it looked horrible. I also will say that the guy that plays Alexi or the Rhino is actually quite good. He has a few cringy lines, but he, like, every time he was on screen, he just, like, took up everything. And it was hard to, like, not pay attention to him because he was just, like, he had this weird presence about him that just made him interesting. I can't really quite describe it, but he was just, like, interesting to watch on screen. Probably yet again my worst complaint, and it's a complaint that I have with almost all of the Sonyverse movies. I have the problem, it's my main issues with the Venom movies, it's my main issue with the Morbius movie, and it's my main issue with this movie, is that Kraven is not a good guy. And to me, it's proof that it can be done. We actually just covered it not too long ago with the Penguin. The Penguin was a show about the Penguin, longer than any of these movies, and they still are able to depict the Penguin as this horrible guy. Like, he is shown to be a villain. He literally, I don't want to say any spoilers, so I won't, but he ends up killing someone that, you never thought he would kill. And to just kind of prove once again that he is a villain. In all of these movies, it seems like I would have such a hard time believing if any of these villains ever went up against Spider-Man that they were villains. I'd feel bad for them. I don't know. Like, I want to understand them, but I also need a motive to, like, them being cold-hearted villains, like the Spider-Man villains that we know and love. And I just don't feel that. The storyline's also pretty choppy. It moves around in a lot of... I will say, the movie didn't really even have a plot until, like, halfway through the movie. It was just, like, showing Kraven growing up and everything. Like, the movie does not have a plot. Like, he's not really going after anyone. He's just kind of, like, it just shows him growing up, how him and his brother grew up treated. The movie finally gains a plot about halfway through when his brother, Dimitri, is kidnapped by Rhino and his goons and stuff. And then that's when Kraven is trying to find his brother. That's when, like, the real, I guess, story begins. Now let's talk some spoilers. There's a lot of characters that they do kind of, like, touch on in this movie, and then there's some that they dive deep into in this movie, and I want to talk about all of them for a second. So the first one, his name is the Foreigner, and he's kind of like an illusionist. Like, he does this thing throughout the whole movie where he'll, like, I think he does it, like, if he's, like, a certain range to you, or if he, like, looks at you, because he does wear glasses, so maybe that's what it is. But he'll snap his fingers, and, like, everything will become, like around them, like blurry, and, like they're kind of, like, on amnesia or something, and he'll go 1, 2, and he'll disappear, and then you'll hear him say, like, behind the person, 3, and then usually he'll shoot them, and that's how he kind of gets around in this movie. He was pretty cool. He kind of served like the mercenary for hire is the way I would describe it for Rhino, like the guy that's going after Kraven before Rhino, like, deals with him himself in the final battle and everything. He was cool though. Calypso is also in here, and I actually quite enjoyed her chemistry on screen with Kraven and just the way that they kind of intermingle. But there were some times when it was like you could tell they were trying to move the plot forward, because things that her character, like, very clearly stood against at the beginning of the movie, when no circumstances changed, she was just like, yeah, I think I'll do that now. But she kind of, you know, she has her grandma, she has the healing thing that she uses to kind of help Kraven when he was a boy, which literally resurrects him and makes him Kraven. And then she also just kind of, like, they make a few references to her character throughout the movie, but that's really it. But the one that I really want to talk to you about is the Chameleon, because the whole movie, and they even do it pretty on the nose. They talk about Dimitri, which is Kraven's brother, and, you know, he's kind of like the weakling of the family, like where Kraven found, you know, pursuing and taking up the more vicious side of their father. Dimitri is more scared and is left alone with their father, and kind of like is, you know, he feels abandoned, right? This whole movie, by the end of the movie, Dimitri says, you know, I'm really glad that I went through this because it allowed me to, you know, unlock who I really needed to be. And obviously, if you know the story of Dimitri, he has a condition where he's able to mimic other people with his voice. That's why his dad has him singing at a club, because he can literally pretend he can do any voice he wants. Like, that's just something he was kind of born with genetically, right? It's a cool little trick that he can do. And it's funny because you get to see the evolution of it in this movie, where, like, he'll use it to, like, mimic like the people that kidnap him, and they'll just slap him because obviously, like, you know, like, he's being an annoying little, you know, little dude. At the very end of the movie, you see, like, the tonal shift with his character, and you can tell, like, he's following up in his dad's footsteps a little bit. And there's this really cool moment where Kraven's like, hey, I'm talking to you, and his brother leaves, and he's walking, and he's still in the same suit, and he looks like him from behind, and he turns around, and then it shows Kraven's face on his brother's body with Kraven's voice as well, and it's like a mirror of him looking at it, and it was really cool. Like, it was a very, like, cool reveal. And then they even showed, I was really hoping they wouldn't just, like, show the the technology of it off screen, and they even showed like the chameleon technology of him transforming back into Dimitri, and I thought that was really cool. And if I'm being honest, I would rather see the chameleon in a future Spider-Man project, this version of the chameleon, over Kraven the Hunt, the version of Kraven that we just got. Because I really liked this version of the chameleon. The final fight is the final fight. I mean, he defeats Rhino by sending a group of like buffaloes that trample on him, and then he like sticks something where he has his little insertion for his medicine so that he can become human. I don't know. It's weird. It was a weird fight, but it was like, it's badass, but it's weird. That's the best way I can describe it. The last thing I want to mention is that there was a part of this movie that felt really on the nose. There's a moment when the foreigner shoots Kraven with this dart that like shows him his worst fear, and it's just a bunch of spiders falling from like the sky and stuff, and I thought that was really on the nose, being that he's a Spider-Man villain. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but it was like, I know that they were trying to show that like, oh, his greatest fear is spiders, and I just thought that was really stupid. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But yeah, guys, that is my review for Kraven the Hunter. Let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comments, or if you haven't seen it yet, then check out my non-spoiler part of this video. And if you're planning on seeing it, then, you know, save this video, come back later so you can watch my thoughts on all of the spoiler parts of this video. And stay tuned for probably the end of this month when I'll be doing a full review of my top 10 movies of the year. I might even go live and just talk about my list of movies this year and where they kind of rank, because this will definitely be on it. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace, Kernels.